is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow.
Sunday, July 21st. July is almost over, but boxing never stops. Never stops. Happy Sunday, everybody. So, Jake Paul fought last night, knocked out Mike Perry. Lomachenko apparently is not motivated to fight Shakur Stevenson. And I don't know if anyone's seen this, but Oscar De La Hoya, hey, I like Oscar De La Hoya on social media. And now he's starting to do things on Thursdays. It's called Clapback Thursdays. So it's about a minute long. So we'll take a look at that later. But first things first, would love to hear what people have to say about Jake Paul. My man, Little Holmes, good evening to you. And it is an honor always talking to you. I did watch the fight. I watched on ppb.com. I've got some good friends over there, and they provided me with a link to the fight. And Little Holmes, good evening. So, let me take this music off. So, I have to admit, I didn't see the undercard. I was out with my wife, and we got home late, and I turned it on. SP got beats. What's going on, brother? So I didn't see any of the undercard. I turned it on, and Amanda Serrano had just knocked out her opponent, which I think most people expected her to do. She's an amazing fighter. And then they had the Jake Paul and Mike Perry fight. Now, I always say, I always tell people, I'm not a combat sports guy. I'm a boxing guy. I didn't know who Mike Perry was. I read about him. My man, Squared Circle with Tech Dumb Dad. Salute my brother George in chat. Salute to you. I look forward to talking to you soon. You've been working hard. I know. You've been working hard, and I respect that. So, I don't know who Mike Perry is. I don't follow the UFC. I don't follow bare knuckle. And I really don't usually break down the strategy of fights or things like that because I would rather hear from the fighters, whoever it is. I would rather hear from the fighters. But in my experience in the sport, now this is not knowing anything about Mike Perry. I watched the way he threw punches in the locker room. And there were telltale signs. The way he wouldn't turn over the right hand, he just kind of flailed it out there. From the highlights that they showed before the fight, feet constantly together all the time. And what happens when your feet are together? You can be knocked down, knocked off balance. And he was smaller than Jake Paul. So I posted on X, and I should have had this ready, but let me see. Let me see if I can find my post. So I posted, as I watched my free airing of Paul versus Pelly, I'm struck by the fact that people pay for this. Even shadowboxing, Perry doesn't turn over his right. Every clip I've seen, he has his feet together. What a joke. But people are paying. So now that was before the fight. So it was no shock to see him get pummeled the way he did. Boxing is different. When you put those gloves on, you could be the toughest guy in the world. You can be the toughest guy in the world. Look, matter of fact, who was tougher than this guy? You know, and much respect to Kimbo Slice. I watched his backyard videos. Authentically tough man could probably take apart anybody in the street, in the backyard, but the boxing ring is different. You put those gloves on and it's different. If you couldn't see that Jake Paul was going to destroy this guy, but look, man, they sold that place out, I guess, and I would love to know what the pay-per-view buys were. My man, Boxing Bully, never heard of Mike Perry either. Yeah, I think you and I are alike, that we are not combat sports. We're boxing people. We're not combat sports people. So I had no doubt, and again, rest in peace to Kimbo Slice. But my point is, in Boxing Bully, I'm sure you'd agree, there was no doubt that Jake Paul was going to destroy this guy because Jake Paul's a boxer. Say what you want about his skill. He's training. He's a boxer. And yes, Little Holmes, Jake looks to be struggling with his breathing. He has to pace himself or he will gas out, but he had the right opponent in front of him. Exactly. And I definitely want to talk about that. Jay Rich, the ref let Mike Perry get whooped 2-3 more rounds than necessary. I mean, look, he fought back. So, but you could see, I could see, and I posted on X that he didn't turn over his right hand. He had no footwork. His feet were always together. So it was no surprise that Jake Paul was going to brutalize this guy. I mean, brutalize Mike Perry, and he did. Perry landed, I don't know, I was looking at those punch stats, like he landed that many shots. I remember maybe 4 or 5 decent shots that he landed. But Boxing Bully, you should have been on that telecast last night. Here's my gripe with the zone. Now I get it. When you have a fight, you got to sell that fight. It's your job as an employee to sell that fight. You want people to watch. And what I watched, Ariel Helwani and everybody, they kept hyping up Mike Perry and how tough he is, and he's never going to stop. And this is a 50-50 fight. No, it wasn't. It would have been nice to have that one dissenting voice saying, this guy's got no shot. He has no shot. It's okay to do that, but everybody's a cheerleader, and they were all cheerleaders on DAZN. And then once it unfolded, everybody reverted back to, oh yeah, well, you can see that Jake Paul's the boxer here, and this is a different sport. So, Bully, they could have used you on there. But Little Holmes, let me get back to this now. Jake Paul, I think the chances of him ever getting a cruiserweight belt are slim. Now there's 4 belts, so he could sneak in there, and you never know the quality of opponents. He'll never beat the best cruiserweight or the second best cruiserweight. He won't. He just won't. He reminds me of Tommy Morrison, not with the punching power, not with anything like that, but remember Tommy Morrison, when he fought Ray Mercer, was giving it to Ray Mercer. But he never, especially back then, he put so much into his shots and he would tire out. And Jake Paul does the same thing. He was in the ring, like you say, he had the right opponent in front of him, Little Holmes. He was in the ring with a guy that couldn't take advantage of that. Jake Paul, I respect anybody who gets in that ring, but this is his niche. He's not going to be a cruiserweight champion. He's going to be the guy that fights like this, and it's okay. 17,000 people were in Tampa. I don't know how many people bought the pay-per-view. He's a draw. Keep fighting fights like this. Jake Paul is telling us who he is. Who's he fighting next? Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson's 58 years old. He's 58 years old. He's 58 years old. That's who he's fighting next. And the crazy thing is, people think Tyson can beat him at 58. But he also challenged the UFC light heavyweight champion. I don't know who that is because I don't follow UFC. That's what he does. That's what he does. Jake Paul, I'll get some more comments in here. Jay Rich says, Jake looked like a lot out there. Tyson would have whooped his ass if it were him. I don't disagree. Little Holmes, you're 100% on that. Exactly. He gasses out so fast. Surprising was Jake's toughest test, though. My man Victor, DAZN. Boxing Bully, I didn't watch it, but no way would I have said it was a 50-50 fight. That's hilarious. Well, that's what they were doing on DAZN. I mean, they were all hyping the fight. Even, I'm just saying, it's okay. You don't have to be complete. You don't want to trash your network and say, we shouldn't be doing this fight. You should, I respect that, but it's okay to be that other voice. You always want to play both sides, you don't want to do shows where everyone has the same opinion. You want different opinions. Nobody had a different opinion. And it was kind of like cringy to watch them hype up Mike Perry's chances. And I literally, again, I never saw a clip frame of him fighting before I turned the telecast on. And even Jake Paul was making fun of the way he threw punches when he was warming up, not turning over the right hand and his feet together. Everything happened the way that people who know the sport knew it would happen. So if Mike Perry can hit Jake like he did, it tells me that Tyson will sleep Jake. And you know what? That's the thing. People are talking about that fight, but getting back to Jake Paul and his future, keep fighting fights like this. You're making money. He teases with the idea of being cruiserweight champion. How many, I hate saying real boxers, but what's the best boxer? He's only fought a few boxers. Who's the best boxer that he fought? Like everybody knows. It's Fury. It's Fury. And he lost. He lost that fight. And what has Fury done since then? I don't think that Fury has had a fight since I could be wrong, since the Jake Paul fight. I don't think he's had a fight. Maybe he had one fight. He's done nothing in the sport. He didn't springboard this into a cruiserweight title. He doesn't care because I think he knows he's not that kind of talent. But he outclassed Jake Paul. So Jake Paul shouldn't fight quote unquote real fighters. Keep fighting. Fight the UFC guys. Fight the bare knuckle guys. Be the boxer who's defending the sport against the other genres. Because like I said, when you get in that ring and put those gloves on, it's a different thing. And again, nobody tougher than that guy. But he didn't fare so well in the squared circle with those gloves on. It's just different. It's just different. And these guys don't realize it until they get in there with a fighter. Jay Rich, I like that Jake says he doesn't expect to fight for a belt in 2 years. Thought they might have wanted to speed it up. 2 years seems realistic. Not saying he wins, though. Agreed. But here's the thing. If he keeps fighting the fighters he's fighting, he's not moving up in the ratings. This fight didn't move him up in the ratings. A fight against Mike Tyson can only hurt him. It can't help him. Because if he wins, he beat a 58-year-old guy. If he loses, he lost to a 58-year-old guy. So that can't help him at all. It can't. In the eyes of the millennials and the casuals, it can, because they don't know who Mike Tyson is. So my man Sid White, what's happening, George? Man, I'm just talking some boxing with you guys. Victor, it sounds like DAZN got their commentators from a Walmart Black Friday sale. Hey, you said it, man. I don't know, man. I don't want to blast these guys, but it is what it is. Lance Meyer, Mr. George, Mr. Lance, what's going on? How much you pay for the new guy, Mr. George? How much you pay for the new guy? Man, I got to send you one of them clips so you know what I'm referring to. Yes, please, because I'm like, wait, what are you talking about? How much you pay for the new guy? I didn't pay for any new guy, but I'm looking forward to SP got beats. Yeah. So look, Jake Paul, we're past the point of he's a boxer, man. He's a boxer, but he's found his lane. Don't fight boxers, and he hasn't. He hasn't fought boxers. He fought that one guy that hadn't had a fight in years, and he knocked him out one round. And he fought Fury, Tommy Fury. So. And I'm sorry, but I have to look this up. So Tommy Fury, obviously the most talented guy that Jake Paul has fought. Okay, I was right. They fought February of 2023. It was a split decision. I don't know how it was split. And Tommy Fury has fought once since then. He fought 8 months later in Manchester. And he fought someone named Olajide William Olatunji. And he won a 6-round unanimous decision. 6-rounder. And he won it by 1 point on all 3 scorecards. Fury deducted 1 point for hitting behind the head. So, man. And he hasn't fought since. So, yeah, he's fighting cruiserweight, SP. But my whole thing with Jake... Keep doing what you're doing. Don't fight real fighters. Don't. There's no need. There's no need for you to fight real fighters. So keep fighting these guys. Fight the UFC guy that he challenged. You want to fight retired boxers, retired MMA guys, bare knuckle guys. Keep doing it, man, because the guy is successful. Again, I don't know how many people are going to buy that pay-per-view, but there was 17,000 people there. But Bully, they could have used you on that telecast. That's all I'm saying. I mean, they had the pom-poms out. Just way too much. Way too much. Squared Circle says Tommy Fury will fight tomato cans until he goes to full-time social media model. When's he going to do that, though? Like, I don't know, man. I agree. SP, imagine Jake being a cruiserweight champ. It's not completely out of the question. Cruiserweight, the cruise. I'm not even going to pull him up. I mean, Opataya is good. There's some good fighters in there. He'll never be the top. He'll never beat the top guy. But you never know, man. Some guy might slip in there and get a belt. That's Giorgio. That's my point. He won't beat Opataya. He won't beat him ever. He won't fight him ever. But he might fight one of those guys that slips in there and has a belt. And all right, I got it. I have to do it. I don't wanna. I gotta do it. I have to look at the cruiserweight rankings. So actually, let me get this on screen. All right. So cruiserweights. Badu Jack still has a belt. Noel Michelin, Gilberto Ramirez. He won't beat Gilberto. He won't beat Opataya, and Chris Williams. He won't beat him. But if those guys lose their belts, there's just Brandon Glanton. He won't beat him. Joe Smith is still ranked, even though he hasn't fought in forever. So, look, I don't think he's ever going to win a belt. But funny things have happened. But why should he? Why should he? Jay, hold up, he challenged Alex. Oh, so that's the MMA guy. Although Ariel Helwani said that there's no way that fight happens. So, but Jay, I think those are the guys he needs to fight. I really do. Get a belt and duck Opataya. Yeah, exactly. Usyk is about to go back to cruiserweight, and he would be undisputed again. Who can take the belts from him? Well, I don't think Usyk is going back. Do you? How old is he? 38? I don't think he's going back. Jay Rich talking about cruiserweight. I seen Benavidez saying in an interview he plans to go to cruiserweight one day too. If I don't care what weight they fought at, Jake Paul could never beat David Benavidez. So yeah, there's your champs, and those guys have been smart. They have guided him, and Jake Paul, he's getting more recognition as a fighter because he trains. He's got a decent jab, but man, his stamina is suspect, and he looks beefy, and he's going to move up to fight Tyson, but Tyson's 58. If Tyson were 48, I think it's a massacre for Tyson. But he's an unknown. I think Ariel Helwani said it. He's an unknown. He's the unknown because he's 58 years old. He's almost 60. 48, Tyson smokes him. But his stamina is suspect, and that stamina is going to betray him when he's in the ring with a real fighter. I think it just is. But he threw some decent right hands. He knocked Perry down in the first, second, and the sixth. The first was just like a clubbing shot, a clubbing right hand. I think it was just the size difference. Second round was legit. Sixth round was legit. And then it ended. So, Giorgio with Loma not interested in fighting right now. Who do you think Tank fights next? Shakur, Zepeda, someone else. You know what? That's the perfect segue. This baffles me. So Igis Klimas, who is Lomachenko's manager, said Loma is not in the mood right now. He doesn't have the motivation at the moment. Lomachenko's manager, Igis Klimas, told boxing reporter Steve Kim on Friday, he's taking off. He wants to spend more time with the family. With Loma, just money is not what motivates him. He doesn't take anything just because of money. You can offer him millions, tens of millions of dollars. If he doesn't have motivation, he's not ready to prepare for the fight. Why would you not be motivated against a guy who is the top lightweight in the world, according to many, against a guy who is unbeaten, against a guy who knocks everyone out? How do you lack motivation to fight that guy? Because if you beat that guy, you're the guy and you get his belt. So he sure was motivated to fight Kambosos, and everybody knew that Lomachenko was going to beat Kambosos. He had motivation then. Maybe it's not. Sorry, my dog is going crazy. Maybe it's not motivation. Maybe it's just that Lomachenko doesn't think he can beat Tank. What else are we supposed? It's okay for him to take. It's okay for any fighter to take time off. It's okay, but that fight was supposed to be signed. I spoke to Tim Bradley not long ago, and he said last week it was going to be announced that Bob Arum and was going to announce the fight, and it didn't happen. So, but why make that kind of? He doesn't have the motivation. So if you're not motivated to fight Tank, you might as well retire, bro. Like, retire. There's no shame in that. Lomachenko, in fact, Lomachenko should retire. Going out, getting a title again, knocking out Kambosos, being the first guy to knock out Kambosos. What a great way to go out. So I'm hoping Lomachenko, maybe it's true though. And maybe the motivation means he just doesn't want to fight anymore. So I think it's a perfect time, really, for him to retire. How many fighters go out winning their last fight? How many? Because Ali didn't, Hagler didn't, Sugar Ray didn't, Tommy Hearns didn't, Wilfred Benitez didn't, Roberto Duran, I don't think did. So that's my point. I mean, I think he should quit. He should quit. But going back to your question, all right, so if Loma's off the table, who do I think he fights next? I don't know. Who do I want him to fight next? Shakur, of course. That's who I want him to fight next. Is it going to happen? Probably not. SP got beats. Loma should give it up and let Keyshawn and Murataya fight for it. Agreed. If he doesn't have the motivation to fight, give up your title. Ride off into the sunset. Lomachenko was a great fighter. He's going to the Hall of Fame. And how, again, there's so many fighters that they go out on a bad note. And he went out knocking out Kambosos, becoming a champion again at lightweight. What better way to go out if he doesn't have the motivation? Because, again, if you can't get motivation to fight Tank, you might as well give it up. So hopefully Tank fights Shakur, but I don't think that'll happen, so who knows? They will strip Loma soon, guaranteed. Yeah, everybody gets stripped except Canelo. Everybody seems to get stripped except for Canelo. So George Yor, Loma said after Kambosos' fight that he wanted to retire after Haney. He fought Kambosos because of his dad's desire to continue. So you're right, and I heard those rumors. So look, it's okay. Retire. It's okay. Tank was parading around with a fake belt, ducking Loma. Now he's eager to fight an older Loma, and Loma gives him blue balls, acting as if he'd fight him. Laugh my ass off. I personally love it. Asshole move by Loma. Yeah. I mean, but who knows? You know, he's older. He's got a lot of stuff going on in his country. So if he wants to retire, just retire. SP got beats. He don't want to be added to the scalp collection. That, I think it's one of two things. And I agree with you, SP. I think it's either he really does lack motivation, meaning not just for Tank, just to fight, because he became champion again. His big goal was to be undisputed, and he came close, but he didn't do it. And he's too old, probably at this point, to mount up another attack to become undisputed. It's just too hard to do. It's too hard to do, and you need time. If he was 10 years younger, so it's either he doesn't have the motivation or he doesn't think he can beat Tank and he doesn't want to get in the ring with him. And why should he get in the ring and get his ass kicked? So, um, yeah, that could be SP. I think I think it's one of two things. Loma should sit back and fight the winner of Tank Shakur, which will be Shakur. There you go. Love to see that fight next. Loma would be a nice addition to the collection. He would. That'd be a big name. It's probably not enough money for Loma. But you're right. Who knows? Who really knows? Because maybe that's how boxing is. That could be his manager's way of saying, what you guys offered is embarrassing. So we're gonna say we have no motivation. It's funny if that's the case, and that you might be right about that. If that's the case, say they offer something big and Tuesday or Wednesday, Lomachenko says, suddenly he's motivated again. It's not about motivation. It's about dollars and cents. Well, dollars. So that's a good point. That's a great point right there. Dave, I don't think Tank cares if he fights Loma or not. He should. He should, because it's a winnable fight for him. And I mean, it's Lomachenko. Back when he had the Reggie SP, yeah, Haney was his last chance for undisputed. And I did a show. I produced a show, Blood, Sweat, and Tears on ESPN for that. And yeah, he said this was his dream, and this is the only thing he hadn't done is become undisputed in any weight class, and he wanted to do it. And I thought he lost the fight. I thought it was a very, very, very close fight. I thought that Haney edged it out, but I thought it was very close. So it was heartbreaking. I mean, there was those shots of him crying in the locker room. It's more people are doing it now, but it's hard to be undisputed. It's hard to be undisputed when all the belts are fractured. Now, when there's one champion who's got all the belts, like Canelo, you fight him, you've got an opportunity to be undisputed. So Jay Rich, Loma's trainer, said he'd be back. Yeah, maybe, but who knows, man? There's so many games that go on. I just think that I'm more inclined to go with SP like this. I think that's the motivation. Even though he says you can offer him millions, tens of millions of dollars. I don't know. I think he might have been maybe not happy with what was offered. It could be a number of things. He could be just telling the truth. And if he's not motivated, he should retire. He should ride off into the sunset and retire. But that rarely happens. That rarely happens. We get this chat, see if anybody wants to talk. But yeah, it's too bad, because I think it's a fight that people want to see, and now you have Zepeda. Zepeda's number one across the board. So I would like to see Tank and Shakur fight, but Zepeda, is Zepeda fought any of those guys? Zepeda's exciting. I think he's beatable, but he's exciting, and he's going to bring it. I would love to. The guy's ranked number one by all four boxing organizations, and that brings me to Oscar De La Hoya. That brings me to Oscar. So Tank got to give him 70-30. Yeah, he might be asking for that. But Oscar De La Hoya, who promotes Zepeda, if you don't follow Oscar, like forget Ryan Garcia and all his nonsense on social media. Oscar is actually hilarious on social media. So Oscar started something last Thursday called Clapback Thursdays. A true great host, great transitions. Yeah. So Oscar, let me find it. So Oscar, there we go. Let me put in. Hang on now. Hang on. All right. So every Thursday, and last Thursday, I believe was the first one, Oscar's going to do a clap back Thursday. He's going to clap back at things that are going on out there. So this was the first edition of Oscar's Clap Back Thursdays. Give it a listen.
Hey, what's up, Clapback Thursdays? Let's start with the WBC and ordering
Come on, how great is it? Like him clapping.
Shakur Stevenson versus William Cepeda. Ordering? What does that mean? They ordered Canelo Benavidez like 3 years ago, and that hasn't happened. William will make his decision very soon, and he has 3 other options. Shakur Stevenson, you're a free agent, you're a great fighter, great talent, but not for me. I believe that when somebody says you're not fighting for the public, I cannot promote. Now, there's a lot of rumors going on that the Saudis are going to take over boxing and buy out every single promoter. Well, guess what? I haven't been approached, so don't believe everything you read. Clapback Thursdays.
How great is that? With the claps and everything, he's got his glass of wine. And I think he's hilarious. Love Oscar. SB got beats. He'll definitely change his mind for 80-20. Oh, yeah, I agree. Dissing Shakur and still somehow threw Canelo in there like a true hater. Well, I don't think Shakur. I think, come on, man. If he obviously, Shakur told him he wasn't going to sign with him. And that's why he said that, because he would love to have Shakur. Like, come on, stop. Just stop. And Zepeda making a decision, it makes it sound like Zepeda's going to duck like the harder fights and take the easier one. That's what that made it sound like. But Oscar, like you see Oscar behind me right here, and that cardboard cutout. A buddy of mine gave that to me. That used to be in the office at HBO. Oh shoot, hang on, let me get my man here. My brother.
George,
Hey,
how you doing?
let me tell you, it's Georgie Orr.
Yes.
Okay. What's up, brother?
Man, the Loma conversation makes me a little sad because
Yeah.
I
Me too.
just, I remember that interview very vividly after the Kambosos fight. He said that he had nothing to prove after Haney, and then he said that his dad every day would send him videos and highlights of the Haney fight, and that he really wanted to make another run, so he did it for his dad. After I really feel like the fire's gone, George, and I'm really sad.
You might be right. How old is he? He 30, 36, 37?
Yeah, he's the age of Crawford, but
Yeah.
it's interesting how Crawford's out here fighting an absolute animal in 2 weeks, and Lomachenko, he's done. But maybe the amateur career was longer for Lomachenko than Terrence.
Yeah, and maybe if his motivation, like if you don't have motivation to fight Tank, who's unbeaten, I do agree, because a lot of people were saying, like you just said, that he really wanted to retire. And if he does, there's no shame, man. How many great fighters retire on a loss or a bunch of losses? So this would be a storybook ending in a sport that rarely gets it. Him winning a belt, knocking out Kambosos, which nobody did. If he doesn't have the motivation, it's not a bad. I think it's a great way to go out. He's a champ again.
You're right. I guess I'm just sad he didn't reach his undisputed dream, because I think at 126 he could have done it, but I mean the statement is that no one wanted to fight him, so he moved up to 130. And I think he could have done it there. No one wanted to fight him again, and then he went up to 35, and that's when people were taking the fights, and then he came up short. And it's like, for somebody that has done so much in boxing, I just like, oh man, I really wanted him to achieve that. But I mean, I acknowledge that, like just like you described earlier, it's so hard to do. It's so hard to do, and with the business and one by one. And then you got people like Cambosis, with all due respect, who was undisputed. And I'm just like, my God.
Yeah, yeah, it's tough to do, and Lomachenko wanted it so badly, but again, he loses that close fight to Haney. Go out, if you go out, you go out like a champ, and everyone who looks at your record, they'll say, you know what, he went out, he could still fight. He knocked out Cambosis, he won a belt. So, but it's funny though. The what his manager says is, he's going to be back in 2025. So I don't know, man. I there's a lot of points of view, but you are right. He talked about not wanting to fight before and not having motivation before. So it's too bad because he showed he can still fight, man. I mean, he took Cambosis apart, and the Tank fight is intriguing because Tank, I'm sorry, man, Tank has not fought a lot of great fighters, and this is a great fighter that he would fight an aged one, but a great one. And I think a lot of people want to see this fight. And Tim Bradley was so sure. Like he told me 2 weeks ago that last week he said, "Oh, that fight's going to happen. Bob Arum's going to announce it," but Lomachenko stopped it. So it is sad.
Well, I saw a lot of opinions on X, and they were like pretty much saying it's like, it's a Tank gets a taste of his own medicine type of thing. Like, oh, now he's the one that he didn't want to fight him for what 6-7 years, and now Lomachenko's kind of doing to him what he did to him a couple years ago. So it's kind of like flip flopping. So in a way, I was like, all right, I didn't think of that. I mean, being doing that is I get it.
Yeah, yeah. It's who knows, man. Maybe it could be a lot of things. You are probably right, but some people talked about money. Maybe he wasn't, maybe he wasn't happy with the amount of money, and maybe that's the motivation. Who knows? I mean, he's definitely he's an older fighter, and it's too bad because everybody wanted to see that fight. Now at 135, I think everyone wants to see Tank and Shakur, but we all know that's not going to happen next. I have no idea who Tank is going to fight next. I would love Zepeda to get thrown in against any of the champs. He's number one. So, but who knows, man? It's the sad thing. You can't depend on in boxing. You can't depend on the best guys fighting each other, and that's the thing that, as much as we love it, that's the thing that sucks. You can't depend on that happening, man, and that sucks.
That's why on Oscar's Clapback Thursdays when he mentioned the Saudis, I was like, dang, I was hoping that was a true thing because they're like the one entity that I believe could actually fix this whole boxing business that's all over the place.
Yeah, obviously it would be fixed if one entity like controlled everything. Yeah, but but that is just the sad thing in every other sport. Just about every other sport, the top teams or the top fighters, they're going to face each other. It's just going to happen. And they might face each other more than once. But in boxing, like all these guys, man, so many of these guys are unbeaten, Tank and Shakur and these guys. Oh man, I wish that the best fighters would fight against each other more. And Lomachenko and Tank, it was a good one, man. And even with Lomachenko not being in his prime, and everyone knows he's a small lightweight, but he can still do some amazing things, and he's still Lomachenko. He's a great fighter. So it's not good for the sport that they're not fighting. But it's Lomachenko's right. And if it's a motivation, he should retire. I think he should just hang up because guys that aren't motivated, that's when you get hurt. When you go
No, that's a great point. Yep, that's a great point. And then training camp is so grueling, Joe. Like I've been watching videos of Terrence Crawford training for the Madrimov fight. This is an episode. I think it's Box Raw, and it's like a simple, It's so simple. Like how boxing is so old school training, and he's doing like 12 sprints in the in elevation with high heat, 12 sprints, and then 30 seconds of shadow boxing, 12 times. and it looks exhausting, like just exhausting. And I can see Lomachenko's like, I really don't want to do this, you know. So I get it. And then speaking about 135, did you see H2O get knocked out by
Oh,
the other gentleman?
I that was on that undercard, right? The Jake Paul undercard.
Yes.
I didn't see it live because when I got home, it was right after Serrano won her fight, so I saw the main event, but I saw the clips. Ooh, oof.
Nasty. And H2O was actually like out. I mean, this is what I read because I didn't see the fight either. But they said that H2O was like outclassing the dude,
Mm.
and then the guy ended up just knocking him out. And I'm like, I guess that's the beauty of boxing. Like one moment can make everything change. And now H2O, I don't know what's gonna happen to him because he was like a top prospect. So Kid Austin, the guy called out Kid Austin, and
Well,
Kid Austin should be able to win that.
I mean, the way he got knocked out, like he was face first. But remember, you know, and this is a different class of fighter, but Manny Pacquiao was knocked face first too. And a lot of people thought that his career was done when he fought Marquez, and he wasn't. He came back. Now that's a different fighter. That was already an established great fighter, but he showed that. I mean, usually when a guy gets knocked out like that, we're gonna see. Like the ring tells the truth, right? So if he's the real deal, he'll come back from this. But that was to get knocked out like that. Oh man, I mean, fighters have on the rise up have gotten knocked out. You know, Amir Khan got knocked out by Brady's Prescott. But man, that was brutal. Like,
It was knockout of the year so far, at least the
ooh,
one, at least the ones I've seen. But
yeah.
my gosh, I had never seen Platinum Perry fight before, but I understood that he was a bare knuckle legend or champion or something like that. But George, my gosh, George, like how can you be a champion at bare knuckle and be that bad at boxing? Like, don't you think it's odd?
Because it's bare knuckle. Like, no offense to those guys. And I don't know if you saw the beginning of the show. I never saw Mike Perry fight. Never ever saw a clip of him fight. I saw him warm up in the locker room, and I saw him shadow boxing, and I saw the way he threw the right hand. He wasn't turning it over. He was just
Mm.
flailing it out there. Then I saw clips they showed. His feet are always together. Like, I'm not Paulie Malignaggi or Chris Algieri or Tim Bradley who can break down a fight. I don't usually do that stuff, but I tweeted something and I said those things. If you know the sport, you knew he was going to get annihilated. He had no business being in the ring. You can be a tough guy. Kimbo Slice, everybody saw those backyard brawls. Kimbo Slice was a tough man. Like, I wouldn't have ever stepped his way. But in the boxing ring, it's different. When you put those gloves on and you have rules, it's a different sport, man. And he had no business being in the ring with a fighter. And Jake Paul's a fighter. You want to say he's a bad fighter, a mediocre fighter, a good fighter, whatever. It's just different when you get in that ring with those gloves on. And I swear to you, like, when all I saw was, 10, 15 minutes before the fight started, and I saw him shadow box. And it's funny, Jake Paul was mimicking him shadow boxing. I saw everything I need to see. And he was smaller too.
He
He was
was.
terrible, man. It was terrible.
I didn't know he was gonna be that bad. Like George, like unlike you, I didn't see him train or nothing. I just literally waited until I like the fight was starting, and I was like, all right, let me watch this thing, see how it is. And as soon as I saw his technique, just like you
Mm.
noticed, I noticed it like right away. I was like, oh my gosh, this is not. Look how open he is. Like those straight right hands are gonna land flush, and yep, that's what happened. I was like, man, Jake Paul really hit the jackpot with this little niche he has. Like just
Oh, it's
fighting.
it's it's perfect, man. Like fight. He's called. Look, he's fighting Tyson next. Then he wants to fight the UFC light heavyweight champ. Fights like that. Like he sold out that place or damn near sold it out. So keep fighting fights like that. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. But that fight in DAZN, man, those announcers, bro, like, come on, man. Like, somebody have some heart and have some balls and say he can't beat Jake Paul. Like everybody was like Ariel Helwani, who everybody respects. Oh, there's no way he's getting knocked out. This is a 50-50 fight. And oh, come
Oh my
on, man. Like,
goodness.
stop. I get it. Like I've worked for corporations too. You don't want to trash your fight, but you can say, you can use your words and say, like, if I was announcing the fight, I would have said, listen, guys, I don't think that Mike Perry has a shot. I don't think he knows how to throw a right hand. I think bare knuckle is different from boxing. His footwork is terrible. I think he's got no shot. And it's okay to say that. None of them. They were all cheerleading. It felt like I was watching the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders. They're like pom-poms are out, but then, bro, when the fight started and it started to unfold, then they're all saying, "Oh, well, it's apparent that Perry's tough, but he just doesn't have the technique." So, like, stop, man.
No integrity, and it's so annoying. It's a little disgusting. But what could we do? Like at this point, like what could we do? Anyway, these fights are frankly not really for us that we're real, boxing fanatics, to be honest. But like you said, he sold out that thing. Like I'm I'm not a fan of the Tyson fight. I'm a little worried about Mike Tyson. He's a grandpa. I'm
Yeah.
really hoping nothing bad happens. But after that fight, he fights Pereira. Pereira, I think that's the name of the fighter.
Is
Man,
that the
he needs.
UFC guy? That's the
Yeah,
UFC guy?
yeah.
Okay.
Alex Pereira.
Okay.
And then he needs to fight Conor McGregor. He would make a killing.
Yes.
He would make a killing. Like, oh my
Yes.
gosh. Like, do you know how that would sell? Like,
Oh my
I would want to watch that just to hear this trash talk.
But you know what's insane? You're talking about selling. I think that Tyson fight is going to sell phenomenally.
Really?
And I think it will. Well, actually, no. I take that back because it's going to be on Netflix. So it's going to be a big draw. It's not going to be a sell because it's not a pay-per-view. So I think Netflix is going to make a killing, although I think they missed the boat now because, the fight was supposed to happen yesterday and Tyson had to pull out because of a medical issue. He's 58, man. I don't think they fight. I think something else happens to Mike because he's 58. I don't think it'll do as well as it did if they had fought yesterday. But Jake Paul, I think that fight's going to sell. But you're right. Conor McGregor, so much money, man.
That would
So
do
much money.
I think that would do numbers like the level of Mayweather McGregor or more. Who knows?
It would do phenomenally. And I'm like, at first, and boxing doesn't need me to defend it, but at first I was like when Jake Paul's fighting, like, this is a joke. He's a YouTube guy. I think the guy puts the work in, man. I think he is what he is. He's a fighter. I don't think he's he's not a championship fighter. He's not a contender, but he puts work in. His stamina is suspect, bro. He was winded in that fight. He throws his shots so hard. He's not loose in there. He gets so winded, but he had a guy in front of him that couldn't do anything to him. But I think I respect the fact that he gets in there. But keep fighting these guys, man. Like, stop saying, "Oh, my dream is to be cruiserweight champ." It's okay. That's a dream. It won't happen. Keep fighting these fights because he's selling out places, man.
He's not a cruiserweight. He's huge. The dude is humongous. I think he's on the juice. I don't know.
I wouldn't be. I mean, look, if without slandering the guy, if he tested positive for anything, who would be shocked?
Right.
But he also looks like he's not in great shape. He looks like kind of beefy. I don't know, man. His stamina just it's not great. And the only time he fought a guy who had any kind of like real boxing skill was Tommy Fury, and he lost. And Tommy Fury is not good. Tommy Fury has fought once since that fight. It's not like Tommy Fury parlayed that into a cruiserweight title. He's not that good.
I will stand up for Jake here. I thought the fight was close against Tommy Fury. I thought it was really competitive, and I thought it was close. Like I thought I could have gone either way. And then Tommy Fury, the next fight he had was another YouTuber, by the way. It was a guy named KSI. That's like his YouTube name. That's who he fought.
Oh man, that's right. That was KSI. You're absolutely right.
And KSI is actually a worse boxer than Jake. So,
Right.
and it was oh my gosh, it was so boring. Like I think the fight
I
was so
remember.
bad that Tommy hasn't fought because he made a killing and he was so bad.
No, he has not fought since then. I forgot that was K because I looked up his record and I don't even know. Like I say, I'm a boxing guy. Like I'm not a YouTube guy or like. And I said his name, not realizing that that was KS1. So wow,
Yeah,
and he hasn't fought since then.
he is bad. It's bad. And to
But like I think we're all through with the Jake Paul bashing. Jake Paul trains. He trains. He definitely has fight people around him. He knows how to jab. He knows how to throw combinations. He's a fighter. But just keep doing what you're doing, man.
I think he made a niche, George. Like, look,
Yes.
if I was Canelo and all I cared about was money, I would vacate my belts and just fight all the UFC guys and make double the money in each fight. That's a
Bro,
new
can you
niche right
can
there.
you can you imagine if Canelo said, "You know what? I'm at the end of my career. I've done everything I can do. I'm giving up all my titles. I want to fight Jake Paul." Could you imagine? First of all, I don't know if Jake Paul would take that fight. I don't know if he would because I don't know if, but imagine if it happened, how big that fight would be.
Yeah, like these would just be events. Like Canelo could
Right.
seriously cut us out. Like if he doesn't want to go the real boxing route and try to build a relationship with Saudi Arabia and try to fight the Benavides and the Morels of the world for a lot of money, if Turkey's willing to put up the money, just do the American business of entertainment, leave the belts, fight Pereira, fight Conor McGregor, fight Jake. Like I really think he would make so much. And Jake is crazy guy. Like I think he'd be willing to fight Canelo. I don't know if he thinks he could really win, but he'd do it. I mean, he lost to Tommy. Why not lose to Canelo? But I don't know. It's a niche.
Now, what fight do you think would make more money? Do you think it would be Canelo or Connor?
I think Connor because
Probably Connor
Connor.
because Connor's so
Yeah.
big, right?
Well, it's not even that. Honestly, it's like your good old school marketing. Connor can market that thing. Like his
Yeah.
trash talk is so good. Like he's like the. I think when Floyd fought him, he said, "Oh, he's like the Irish Mayweather or something like that." Like just the
Right.
trash talk is so good. Like he makes me laugh. He genuinely makes me laugh. Like have you ever seen like those skits of him? Like who the fuck is that guy? Like
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah.
funny and like
Yeah.
Canelo's more of a classic, gentleman type of guy. Like he doesn't his selling is just like, his aura, his
Although
history, everything is
Canelo
there.
is kind of funny now that he likes to curse a lot in English.
That's a
Like
good point,
it's
George.
like
That's a
get
good
the
point.
fuck out of here. It's like he's pretty. But you're right. When it comes down to trash talking, like Connor dwarfs him in that, and Connor's got so many social media followers. And I'll tell you what, man. When Connor fought Floyd, I know that Floyd Mayweather when they did the All Access, Floyd was like an executive producer on it, and this was very smart. They didn't show any footage of Floyd training in those shows. If you go back, it's very little. It was Floyd buying cars and Floyd. Meanwhile, Connor's training his ass off. It was brilliant because all these idiots, sorry, but the UFC, the MMA, they were idiots. They're watching the shows and they're like, oh my God, Floyd's buying cars and Connor's training his ass off. Dude, you knew it. I knew it. When they fought, it was going to be a complete mismatch, and Floyd could take him at any moment. And then they fought, and that's exactly what happened. But it was brilliant. It was brilliant selling because Floyd was acting as if he wasn't training, and he was. And it wasn't even close. Like I remember watching that, and it looked like he could take him at any time. But I think he made the choice. He was like, you know what? Let me let this cat hang around for a while, and I'll just kind of wear him out, bring him into deep waters, and drown him, and that's what happened. But yeah, man, Jake and Connor, and those are that's a fun event, and that's like niche is the right word. That's what Jake Paul should do. I think we've all kind of accepted him, and honestly, it's funny because I did like a reversal last night. I'm like, no bare knuckle guy can come to boxing and beat a boxer. I'm saying Jake Paul's a boxer. And when I saw his technique and before the fight, I said, this guy's got no shot. Meanwhile, Ariel Helwani and all those other guys, they got and Gabriel Zotto, who I respect, they got the pom-poms out and they're talking about, oh man, this is going to be a great fight and it's 50-50 and blah, blah, blah. No, it's not.
They were selling, I guess. They must have been
But
selling.
why sell it when it's already like done? Like when you're watching this, it's already sold. Like somebody, like Larry Merchant used to get a lot of hate, and Larry would take it too far sometimes. But Larry would be like, if a guy like Larry Merchant was on that telecast, he'd have been like, this guy's got no shot. He has got no shot. He's a bare knuckle fighter in boxing. You have to have a different skill level in boxing. He doesn't have it. Guess what? He didn't have and he would have been whoever, if someone would have said that, they would have been prophetic and they would have been 100% right. Instead, these guys are waving their pom-poms and talking about and Ariel, I think he bet the UFC guy, I forget his name, who was commenting, Woodley. I think Woodley wanted to bet him. He said, oh, I bet you there's going to be a knockout. Like, you got to do 10 push-ups. And Ariel's like, there's no way Mike Perry's getting knocked out. He's so tough, the king of violence and everything. Bro, this is boxing, man. This is boxing. Like, stop.
People don't learn, man. I really thought people were gonna learn after what AJ did to Ngannou, but clearly that's not the case. So I mean, let it be. Let them keep hyping these fights, and then trying to fool the viewer, really. But people like you who really understands boxing, like you're actually not fooled. You're kind of a little annoyed, and I am as well. I just feel like there's no integrity. Like you're just trying to sell it and hype it up and blah blah blah.
Well, you said the word integrity, and at that point, like it's so like have a different opinion, man. Like have the one guy that's always going to go against the grain. But I guarantee you, if you talk to those guys like off camera, they probably would have been like, "Man, we know he's got no shot, but what are we supposed to say? Like DAZN's got this fight, so we gotta hype it up." No, man, like that's for the pre-fight stuff. The night of, somebody be honest and whatever,
You would.
man.
What about speaking of opinions? I like this clapback Thursday thing by
Oh
Oscar.
man, dude, I love that.
He's so Oscar's a character. Like, oh my, I liked him so much more as a fighter, but as a person, he is just something different. And I when he's so salty all the time about Canelo and like mentioned him with the Benavides thing, but I this is why I asked you the question earlier in the live. Like, Jordan, what does Tank do? I feel like this is the opportune time for Cepeda to come in and take that fight.
I would if they announced that fight, man, I love that. Like, I mean, Zepeda's number one in all the organizations. That shows you right there how Oscar can play ball, how he can play that political game because this guy's number one in all four organizations. If Tank doesn't fight Shakur, which we know that's not going to happen, I would love Tank and Zepeda to fight. But we'll see. Look, I'm with you though. Like the clapback stuff, like Oscar, he had his glass of wine, like on the thing, and he's even doing the clapping. You know, he's like I can't wait to see what he talks about next Thursday. He's funny and like, dude, come on, man. Of course he wanted to sign Shakur. Of course he did, and Shakur even put out on X. He said, "Yeah, Oscar's saying that because I told him I wasn't signing with him." So. Of course he wanted to sign Shakur, but of course he had to defend himself like, oh, he said he doesn't fight for the fans, so he's not for me. But it makes me like Oscar even more.
I think I was so after the last matchroom event, I forgot I'm blanking out on the fight, my goodness. But it was oh yeah, the Boots fight.
Right.
They kept interviewing Shakur and Eddie Hearn, and they said they were going to have a meeting that Monday. And I think like maybe the meeting didn't go as great because I haven't heard a single thing after that. So that tells me, Eddie, I don't know. He seems like a great promoter. I think he kept it real with Shakur about the division and what he could offer. George, I think probably Shakur realized and accepted after hearing it probably from Eddie. This is all theorizing. but he probably realized that Top Rank is his best option, and he might go back to Top Rank. And I think because Tank's not going to fight Shakur next, which I would love if that happened. But like you said, very unlikely will happen. I think what if Eddie keeps it real with Shakur, tells him he probably can't get him the fights that he needs as quickly as he wants. So Shakur goes back to Top Rank. He goes back to Top Rank while William Zepeda gets their Javante fight. Then Shakur goes back and he ends up fighting Berenchik.
Yeah,
You know, like I
yeah.
can see that happening, and I feel like I'm missing a belt because it's Berenchik, Shakur, Javante. Oh, Loma. Anyway,
Loma.
so
Yeah,
Loma,
Loma.
yeah. So
Right.
Loma, and then Loma, if he ever does come back, I mean, he can unify or whatever Loma does. I mean, he's still with Top Rank. So I guess I'm trying to say is I wouldn't. And then I saw on X that Shakur actually tweeted decent, positive things about the way Bob responded to some things. So you never know. Like we actually might get that 135 unification undisputed run for Shakur. That's my guess because I haven't heard anything about
You're
how
right.
the matchroom meeting went.
No, you're right. He's not signed with anyone. So I remember now. This is a couple weeks ago, but I interviewed Tim Bradley, and we were talking about Shakur, and I said, "Isn't there a chance that Shakur could resign with Top Rank?" And he didn't think so. But you're like, if these people aren't signing him for whatever reasons, like maybe Shakur's asking for too much. I mean, maybe he could go back to Top Rank. But just make it like nobody honestly, like it's not like people are waiting every day like, "Oh my god, who'd Shakur sign with?" It's not like that big a deal because we know he's going to sign with someone. It's
Yeah, I
not
guess
like
for
this
me,
isn't Mike Tyson coming out of prison where there was that like everybody want like who's he going to sign with and everybody wanted to sign him. This isn't that. This is Shakur. And no offense cuz I love Shakur, but um you might be right, man. He might re-sign with Top Rank. He might.
just so he could make the undisputed run at 135 because
Yeah.
and with Matchroom as I love I mean I'm if I'm looking for my self interest it'd be great if you signed with Matchroom because I'm subscribed to the Zone so I'd be able to see Shakur all the time instead of having to
Right.
pay for ESPN Plus. But I mean I feel like what can Eddie do without having to collaborate with ESPN or something. Like every time he collaborates with ESPN, he has to send his fighter to ESPN. That's what he
Yeah.
did with Ray Savage had to fight Odebek. He had to send Ray Savage to go fight ESPN Plus. So
Right.
why would he sign Shakur and send Shakur over there? Like it's just what does he have to offer? I mean, Leon Paro at 140. Shakur's not at 140.
No,
You
you're
know,
right. You're
maybe
right.
yeah, that's what I was theorizing. But George, those are my points. That's what I wanted to say, and I will let you go, my man.
Well, I appreciate you, brother. Yeah, I'm about to get out because I like to keep this to about an hour. But yeah, man, dude, I love talking to you, man. So anytime I'm on, come on, man, so we can just talk about boxing.
Hey, when I get notified that you're on, it's like a joy. Like I get to talk boxing with you, man. But you have a good evening. You have a good night. Bye bye.
All right, brother. Appreciate you, man. All right. Oh man, so I'm at 64 minutes. Man, that's my man right there. Uh, so Keggy says I'm gonna get to a few of these and then I'm out. But Tank's resume is seriously average. See, I say the same thing, and I'm not a hater. I'm not. I promise you, I'm not a hater. But I always said you dig deep. You look at that resume. If you know what you're looking at, man, it's. Eeh. You know what? All right, Jay. All right, Jay. Now you and I have a problem. Cambosa's the Eli Manning of undisputed champs. Okay, let me tell you something. I'm from New Jersey, so I'm a Giants fan. Let me tell you, Eli Manning's got 2 Super Bowls, right? He's got 2. His brother also has 2. How many Super Bowl MVPs does Eli have? Oh, he's got 2. Don't you ever compare Cambosos to Eli Manning. Now, come on, man. You're still my man. So, also means that there's no roadblocks or excuses for Tank versus Shakur from either side. Yeah, agreed. SP got beats. It was Dodge triangle with Haney chasing Loma while he was looking for Tank. It was crazy. Yeah, very true. My man Matthew. What's up, brother? You gotta jump in when I put these links out. You gotta jump in one day. SP, if Zepeda was with Top Rank, he would have had Baranchik next for sure. Absolutely. Like Zepeda, dude, he's number one with all the organizations. He's got to get a shot, right? Oscar knows how to play ball, bro. And of course, Loma's a featherweight. We know that. No doubt. Matthew, Loma doesn't drink or smoke or do drugs, just like Crawford. They're on a different level from most other fighters. I would pay $1 for any fight. I think you meant you wouldn't pay $1 for any fight having to do with Paul. Guess what, though, Matthew? I watched a fight last night. I didn't pay a dime. I've got friends at ppv.com. I love ppv.com. Yeah, there you go. I wouldn't pay $1. So I'm with you. I didn't pay $1. That guy was like 16-0 with 14 KOs. Surprised Jake put H2O. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know anything about the guy H2O fought, but damn, man, I saw that knockout. It was vicious. No, I don't want Kid crashing like that. No tune-up serum until further notice. Man, Matthew's harsh. He is what he is. He's not a boxer. He's not a boxer. Holding ruined it. Dario, come on, bro. You must be an MMA fan, right? Just admit it. You're an MMA fan. Holding? No. You know what ruined any chance Perry had? His lack of talent as a boxer. That's what ruined any chance he had. He had no business being in a boxing ring. Stick to UFC, stick to bare knuckle. Bro, stop. Don't get Holding. His lack of talent. The gloves make a difference. Exactly. Perry has no defense and Jake Paul is terrible. That's why he doesn't fight boxers. You know what? You said it. I agree. Jake Paul should keep doing what he's doing because it's entertaining. It is. Keep fighting UFC guys and 60-year-olds. And, I'm trying to think what retired boxers can he call out next? Like, keep doing that, man. That's your thing, bro. That's your thing. And don't start to become a real fighter. I'm looking at the rankings. I'm looking at the WBA. Don't start being a real fighter and fight a guy like Brady's and Joe Smith and Brandon Clanton. Don't do that because that's going to end terribly. Keep fighting the guys you're fighting. I disagree with that. No, he didn't look as bad. He didn't look great. But he's doing what he's doing. We know this. Like we know this. Keep doing what you're doing. Keggy, I've seen Mike Perry fight a lot. That was the worst I've ever seen him fight. Okay, Keggy. He's 0-2 in boxing. So he lost once to a boxer. So I'm assuming all the other fights you saw were bare knuckle or whatever he fights in. Yes, you proved the point. When you get into the ring and you put those gloves on, it's a different game. It's a different game, man. Mike Perry has beaten better fighters in bare knuckle. Not as boxers, though, Matthew. Not as boxers. So, yes, of course he does. He's fighting a 58-year-old fighter next. But that's what he does, and that's okay, man. That's okay. Dario, Pacquiao couldn't deal with Floyd's holding either. Don't blame Perry. Bro, listen, Floyd's holding. Pacquiao had no shot to beat Floyd. And everybody knows boxing knew he couldn't beat Floyd at that point. Couldn't. Maybe they fought a few years before. I don't blame Perry for anything because he got paid too. Perry had no skill as a boxer. No skill. He couldn't throw a right hand, couldn't throw combinations. His footwork was horrible. And what happened? He made Jake Paul look better than he is, and he didn't even look that good. So, look, I hear you, but you know what? This is also entertainment, and I won't pay money to see Jake Paul fight. If I can keep seeing him fight for free, I'll keep doing it. But this is entertainment, man. This is business. He's got a niche or a niche, however you say that word. don't fight real fighters. Don't fight, Gilberto Ramirez. Like you'll get smoked. Opataya, you'll get smoked. Like don't. So, and look, I said this too. It's gonna be huge. It's gonna be huge. All right. Aha. Jake gasses out faster than Zhang, and that's saying something. I know, dude. Jake was so tired, man. He just, God, I remember when Tommy Morrison fought Ray Mercer, and he gassed out like a champ, man. Like the opposite of champ. All right. Banana bread. There's a new one. I would love to say Better Be versus Paul wouldn't last 30 seconds, but that's not gonna happen though. Like we know that. Yes, of course, this is a fight that hopefully is going to be made. And he's fighting he's got it easy. He's got to give me his next fight, and that's okay. I don't fault him for that. His punches looked as bad now as they did in the beginning. What are you talking about that he puts the work in? Don't you think he would improve? It looked like hey man, hey. You start talking about girls, Clarissa Shields will see that and she'll jump in your face, Matthew. He puts the work in. I'm saying he's a boxer. That's what I'm saying. I didn't say he's a good fighter. I didn't say he's a good boxer. I didn't say he was a mediocre boxer. He puts the work in, and you see his skill set was so far past Mike Perry's. Mike Perry looked like he had no clue what to do. Guess why? Because he had no clue what to do when you put the gloves on and you have to have some sort of skill. And I'm not knocking bare knuckle. It's just different. It's just different. Man, Matthew's going in. Little Holmes, and how well Floyd, and how as well Floyd in all his prior fights, he would box, stick and move against Connor. Walked him down, testing him, was not even concerned. Yeah, it was a joke. It was a joke. It was a joke. Matthew's going in on Jake. I'm just saying, dude, Jake is selling it. Matthew, did he sell out that arena? We're close, damn near almost sold it out. And I hear you, man. I hear you, but you got you gotta accept it. Jake Paul is a draw. I'm not saying he's a good fighter, but you have to accept that he's a draw. All right. Keggy. Shakur signing with Frank Warren. All right. I'm out because I got to get out of here. I'm 13 minutes past the hour. Dexter Haynes III. There's a new one. Yo, what's up? Make sure you subscribe. Matthew Larry would have been laughing his ass off. Larry Holmes, that is. Ah, man. Dexter going in. Loma is Donald Duckworth. What's up, Teach? A salute to you. All right. Yeah, look, that's my point, Glenn. If you don't like Jake, then don't watch him. But guess what? It seems like people are watching him. And Turkey said, this is not boxing. It's not. It's entertainment. Last night was not boxing. It was not boxing. It was entertainment. So I agree 100%. All right, I'm out. Make sure you subscribe. You can check me out on Instagram, G Jakovic. I'm on X, G Jakovic. And make sure you subscribe to this channel, because good things can happen when you subscribe. You see that Oscar De La Hoya? Oscar De La Hoya, and peace to you, Teach. Oscar De La Hoya is over my shoulder. You subscribe to this channel, this could be in your future.
Subscribe to my YouTube page and you can win a once-in-a-lifetime, no expenses paid trip to check out the boxing memorabilia in my garage and in my home office. You can come hit the heavy bag and go through the hundreds of boxing magazines I have, and even take a picture with a life-size Oscar De La Hoya cardboard cutout that I took when I was at HBO. Subscribe now for your chance to win all of this.
Peace out. Talk to you guys this week.